Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ed Sirico, Programmers Paradise. I'm the Business Development Manager at Programmers, and I'm going to be hosting the slides today for validation of CA ERwin Data Model Validator. Programmers Paradise, we've been around for about 30 years, so we've been focusing on reseller developer infrastructure tools for a number of years. That's been our power trade is basically development. We're CA's elite partner, meaning we're the #1 data modeling reseller for CA for a number of years. We were the first reseller for CA to focus on the ERwin family of products since 2001. We do have a team of dedicated CA sales and engineering, and anywhere to focus on not just the pre-sales, but also post-sales for the ERwin data modeling tool. As you can see from our slides, we're going to focus on basically a little bit database worldview software ecosystem. This takes you through basically the database platforms, design, modeling, development, and test, all the procedures you'd have to go through, and it focuses on those vendors that we do supply products and services for each area. And now I'll hand it off to Shubhi Kamakar. She's my CA engineer who's going to be focusing on the validation tool. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And this is Shubhi Kamakar. And let's go through our slides. And give me a minute while I get my slides in a row here. All right. So what we want to do today is first I will look at all of the family tools that we have, and then we'll go directly to Data Model Validator. Hope you're all having great summer and are ready with your data models to check them and see if there's anything for validation or if you've been doing perfectly great job at creating data models. So in our family of tools, as you can see on the slide, right in the middle is the data modeler, right? That's the modeler that allows you to look at the design so you can discuss if the design and the reality is same or not. You can look at your different databases and find out if that's what the business thinks is what you have in the databases. You can also look at your metadata. You can go in and get metadata from lots of different functions out there or tools out there through import and export bridge, which is meta integration bridge, and which is part of ERwin Data Modeler. You don't pay any extra for it, but it actually allows you to put your arms around the metadata that's out there. We also have Process Modeler as part of the family here, or the part of the suite. Process Modeler gives you exactly what it says. You can model the process. A question always comes up of, hey, wait a minute, my company is doing well, we're making good money, our share prices are better than what they were 6 months ago, so why do I need to know my process? Well, you may or may not need to know it as right now, but having a process information in hand always helps as we go in, and we see that all the time, companies buying other companies, companies getting sold as piecemeal. It helps to know the process. What is it that you do and how is it that you do it? Why? Because at the end of every process is data, right? Whether you understand a process or not is immaterial sometimes, because at the end of the day, you do have lots of data that you collect. And if you know what data is being created, read, or updated by different applications, different users, different companies, it really helps you in long run. Those of you who have been thinking about any of the master data management projects or data governance projects, data mart, data warehousing projects, it really doesn't matter. At the bottom of it all, you need to know the process. You need to know where the data is coming from, who's using it, who's creating it, who's updating it. And more knowledge you have about your data actually helps you in going in and budgeting, going in and looking for different projects and the timelines and so forth. Model Manager is basically, as the name goes, manages your models, and the need for that is, as we realize that we need data governance, we also need to govern the data models. After all, the data models are your applications, right? So if I am a company, say I'm Verizon, and I have this huge model that I use, and I have lots of different applications. I have 8 to 10 versions, or the releases in a year. I have different environments. What do? If my application walks out of my my office, I am in trouble. So what do I need to do? I need to really take care of my application, get hold of it, because it will save somebody a lot of time to get the applications that I've already worked for. Model Manager gives me that ability. I can control people's access to my models, which are my application-specific models. People can then give me the ability, it gives me ability to check my version control. If something fails today, it's Saturday morning, I have a new release out and I get, it's not working. I don't have time. What do? I go back to the last release that's out there in my Model Manager that I can just quickly take out and then start with it, run with it, and then go back and fix. So Model Manager comes in very handy. It gives me the security. It gives me audit trail. It also gives me ability to go back and forth in my model, and I can share information. I can share globally my models. I'm not wasting my time because somebody else had the model on their laptop and now they're traveling for job. Crystal Reports it's not a different tool. It's actually part of CA ERwin Data Modeler. Yes, we give you a license, developer's license for Crystal Reports so you can run reports. Data Modeler, of course, gives you a lot of great reporting, but Crystal Reports allows you that one extra reporting that you can do where you can actually go down to CA's ERwin's models or schemas that are underneath it and expand your horizons when you're running the reports. Model Navigator is not part of this tool. I'm going to come back to Model Validator in a minute, but let me just go very quickly tell you the Navigator is a tool that helps people with read-only ability in the models. When you work globally with different people, when you have users, data modelers, data architects, DBAs, everybody trying to look into the model and making references, and some people may just want you to run reports for them or print out for them, and that takes a chunk of your time. Navigator will allow these people to connect to your model manager, open the model, so you can keep track of who's opening your model, and also you can provide the security that you need. At the top of the screen, you see Data Profiler. CA ERwin Data Profiler allows you to do what? Data profile. Why is the need? Because, yes, I'm perfect with my data design, but, I really don't know what kind of data that exists there. Even though I tried my level best in my data modeler, I inherited some systems which have data redundancy, data overlap, all of the systems that I have there. So as I go forward, as I start going and analyzing my data, I need a tool that, first of all, it's in my price range. It's something that every data architect can use because it's really easy to use, and it gives me that ability to go back and forth between my design and the actual data so I know if I'm on the right track or not. I can also decide going forward as a data architect which data I should be completely trusting, which data is the one that's going to help me with the master data management. All right. My Sapphire option is for people with ERP. And I'm sure most of you out there are thinking, wow, I didn't even know that there was an option that will allow me to look at my SAP environment or my PeopleSoft or any of my ERPs out there. And why there's a need? I get this question asked all the time. Shubi, I have the same data element, but you know what? The data that we collect there is different, okay? And we also have that in our ERP. How can we put our arms around it? Well, Sapphire option allows you to create a repository of your ERP data or data design so that now I can look at my standard cubes as opposed to standard modules. I shouldn't say cubes all the time, but standard modules versus customized modules. So when my designer, my developers go in and make the changes, I can go in and control that. I can look at it. Otherwise, you know how much you pay, right, to any of the SAP consultants or development people. You're wasting their time to just so that they would tell you something about something. Now, I can understand what KAN means, but if some people don't know, now this gives me ability to look at my data through just definition. I can go in and look at customer information or master information that's out there in the Sapphire. And in one of the next series, we will look at Sapphire option and how that helps. Now that brings me to Data Model Validator, finally. What is the validator? It's the tool that validates your data model. And why is the need? because as I go in and start creating my data models at the end of the day or end of the month or end of the year, I'm sitting there with many data models. Sometimes people make changes in their jobs, and all of a sudden they realize that, okay, from next Monday I start creating data models. And I have no idea. So I'm going to hit the books, I'm going to start teaching myself, and then go and start doing data modeling. Or DBAs who want to go look at the data models and understand them. Data Model Validator is one place where you can go in and look at your model. You can validate it to see for the structural integrity of your data model. You can also look at SQL and DDL code by applying relational technology rules. So it will help you pinpoint your design defects. Say you have a role named and you realize that role name attribute has different data type. That could happen. So these defects would be put on, you'll be able to see those, or you have an extra index on the table, a redundant index, you don't need it. It recommends corrective actions as in terms of creating an SQL, and it automatically generates script that you can then save and implement. All right, so let's look at the next slide here. So we looked at the data modeler. We said the data modeler gives me ability to do all these things, visualize the current data structures, I can reverse engineer data models from anywhere, or databases from different databases, synchronize the changes through complete compare. I can create and analyze data structures by forward engineering, I can share the information. But in all of this, and ERwin also does something called check model, but it is a very primitive checking, and if you wanted to really go through and comb through your model, you need the Data Model Validator to do that for you. So when you're integrating, structuring, and validating data from, say, diverse sources, that is a time-consuming and error-prone task. So to help ensure business continuity and enable disaster recovery, which is actually the heart of your organization's database, basically it's schema, right? So you want to know that the schema is sound. So this product, actually, the validator, significantly improves the consistency and quality of your data. So what does it do? It can look at through your existing CA ERwin Data Modeler models. It can also look through your script file, and also it can connect to a DBMS catalog or dictionary. At present, it works with Windows and Oracle, your MS SQL Server. It works with your IBM DB2UDB. It works with Sybase and all the other ODBC databases because it uses ODBC to basically connect. All right. So as it starts validating your model, it basically analyzes data structures. It looks at your keys. It looks at your indexes on the physical side. It looks at every field column and relationships for violations of relational database design rules. All right, it provides, so what is the design rule? And I'll show you in the tool itself, you can have your corporate standards put in so that it helps you as you go in and work with the tool. All right. It also detects performance bottlenecks. 15% of the time, that's what we see in our model, suggests performance improvements. It will tell you that you don't really require this particular index, so you can drop it. It provides additional schema documentation, and I'll show you as we go in. Here's one example of assuring quality. So as it pulls your model and runs a report on it, it can look at your index and constraint, and as you can see over here, it's telling me that I have an incorrectly defined foreign key, and there is an I box. When I check on it, it says that's an incomplete defined foreign key will not properly enforce referential integrity. So that's the problem, and this may lead to invalid data. Now, at this point, you can then go back to your model, look at the table, and then go in and try and fix it at there. If you don't understand why it's telling you that, you could also go to the Teach Me facility that's here, and we'll see how that helps us. Here's another example, proposed changes. So now it says the suggestion is, in order to ensure proper transitivity, you should drop foreign key by region country and then define in table region. So basically, it's going to take you step by step to propose those changes that you need to work with. What I also like about this tool, it gives the ability to leverage the knowledge of modeler. What does that mean? if you are at a point where you're looking at something and you're going, well, I don't really understand. Why is it asking me not to do a certain thing? You can click on the Teach Me button that takes you to the Teach Me facility and makes you understand step by step what's the problem, what is it that you actually do in Data Model, and where does it stand. All right. So I would like to do the demo now, so I'm going to go open my Data Model Validator, and hope you can all see the Data Model Validator on your screen.
Not yet. You should be able to show.
All right. You should be able to show it right now. See my Data Model Validator. All right. The way to go to that is when you implement Data Model Validator, you can actually go to Start All Programs, and when you go to CA ERwin, you have ERwin Data Model Validator right there, and you can go turn it on from there. You also have the same ability if you were to work with ERwin Data Modeler. All right. In ERwin Data Modeler, under Tools, there is ERwin Data Model Validator button. That'll only open up if you have both of those tools on your machines and they both have the licensing in there. So when I'm working with ERwin, I can just go from Tools to Data Model Validator and then open the model of my choice and work with it. I'm not going to spend time on Data Modeler. I'm going to spend time on Data Model Validator. So when it opens up, it is, again, Windows-based tool, so it's very easy to maneuver. So if I go through File, I have New, and I do have Open. I have Compare. I also have Refresh. So if I'm working with a model and if I'm working with the database information, I want to go in and refresh from the catalog or from the script, I do have that choice. It also gives me ability for the SQL generation or SQL edit if the need be. All right, and we'll look at some other menu options as we go forward. So I'm going to go to File, New, and when it says Data Model from ERwin, I can, of course, go to the schema or the DDL script. I can also open a model from Data Model from Model Manager, and what that will take, again, if you're Model Manager on SQL Server, basically, it's looking at your ODBC connectivity to Model Manager. So I'm going to open the demo model that I have in here, and when I say open, it will open the model and keep the information for me. So it's going to ask me now a few questions. It'll ask me if I should get all of the subject areas, and I want to, and I'm just going to say yes. It'll also come in and then it open the model for me. So as you can look at this left-hand side screen, I have 3 different tabs. One's for tables, and I see all of the tables in there. One is to show me all the relationships that I would have, and then the last one is diagnostics. So as I'm going through my table, so the very first one, it says it's country, and if I expand it, I see that it has 3 columns, country ID and name and language, and then it tells me that there is a unique constraint, XPK country, which is country ID. So it's giving me the information that I want to see. I can also go to another table here, order table, which says it has 7 columns in there. And if I go to the primary keys, it says it has indexes, and it has a couple of indexes, one on customer number, and there's another one of which has customer number, order date, and company name. All right. So basically, right now, it's only showing me tables that it pulled in from my data model. All right. So now I go to the second tab, which is my relationship tab. Now, this is giving me the relationships between different tables. Now, if I'm looking at the country relationship, it says it has a relationship between country and region, and R meaning it's a restrictive relationship. If I click on this I, it's telling me the parent here is country, child is region, type is defined. Basically, it's a defined relationship. There is a constraint name, the relationship is one-to-many, and its delete rule is restrict, and it's nullable column. So every place that I have relationship here, that's what it's going to tell me. All right. The last one is the Diagnostic tab, and that's very important for us. And it's very quick. Whether you spend your time in tables and relationships or not, you can actually go in and create the diagnostics. Right now, it hasn't run any relationships, any diagnostics on there. So the first diagnostic here is column, then it's for index, constraints, normalization, and relationship. So when I click on column, when I expand it, basically, very quickly, it runs the diagnostics. And it's telling me that these are the shortcomings of my model. They are inconsistent definitions. Voila. 2 places I have inconsistent definitions. And if I expand it, it says for company name and customer number. And if I expand the company name, it's telling me that there is a data type problem. Company name has been used 2 different places. One place, the data type is C30, and one place is B25, and that's just not going to cut it, right? And it's also telling me which table it's in. I can do this. We will come back to all of these problems a little bit later. I'm going to go expand index and constraints, and I have asked it to show me certain things, certain places. So that's why it's telling me there are some errors that will make you stop. There are some errors that are just a no-no. You know, the bolt or thunder right here, and then information table with no relationship. All right. So now I would also want to go in and see what are the errors in my normalization. It tells me that there are 7. Now, you know, it's okay to have denormalized model in there as long as you know what were the denormalization for. What were your design decisions? Whether you're doing it as part of habit or you're actually doing it because you try to understand why it's helping me. A lot of times we have preconceived notions and we go with, oh, because that always helps with performance. Yeah, but does it? Is that the case right now? So normalization will help you to understand that. And we all do that. It may be a first normal form violation. Maybe you rolled up a table or rolled down a table. But if there is a design decision with it, then it's really helpful. And you all know ERwin now, with its transforms, gives you ability to actually go in and document these design decisions. So now you're saving yourself a lot of time and agony and you know, argument and politics and a lot of other things if you just document it right in your data model and then come and check it through the Data Model Validator. So now I've run all of my diagnostics, and when I do that, if I do that, once I've run my diagnostics and I come back to my tables, now I see a little different scenario here. What do I see? I have some tables with blue eyes, meaning I'm safe with those tables, and I have some tables with red eye, basically telling me if I click on that red eye that, all right, this table does have a lot of information that I want to look at, all right? And as I can see here, I'm looking at the information. I have inconsistent definitions, incorrect functionality dependencies. And first normal form, table with no relationship, all right? So what I can do now, again, like I said, you could go through all of this at this level, or you could also go in to different levels. Now, where does this diagnostic come from? What kind of diagnostic it's giving me, and why does it look that way? If you go to Menu Option Tools, and if you go to Preferences, then when you go to your Display Settings, or Diagnostic Settings, excuse me, there is a checkbox for Select Individual Diagnostics. And this is something that you may want to do before you start running Validator. You need to know what you're looking for. You know, no model is going to be perfect. But if it's perfect for your application in your project, then you got it made, right? So you need to have your own controls on the models, your own business rules that you're looking through. So I'm going to go through the Diagnostic Settings and click on Select Individual Diagnostics. Now when you look at it, for column diagnostics, it's going to basically look for inconsistent definitions. Now if I go through here, basically it's going to give me the warnings at the severe level for inconsistent definitions. Groups with inconsistent definitions, I can't tolerate them. Duplicate table names and model, I can't tolerate them. I really, if any one of this is there, I want my validator to come and tell me that there's a severe problem here. Multiple ID fields in the table, basically meaning you have probably used more than one or composite key. You also can go in, and as you go down, you can see that there are all of these functionalities you wanted to check. The second one is index and constraint diagnostics. So now it's looking at different things about your indexes, right? Do you have any disabled check constraints? You come and show me as an error. Do you have a different check constraint than what it needs to be? All of that information can be seen. Plus, you could also have user-defined diagnostics. It says tables with too many indexes. So it says my threshold is 6. Maybe I want to make the threshold as 4. If I have 6 indexes on one table, it's going to be really, really slow. And you know what? I want it to tell me anytime there are more than 4 indexes, just come and tell me what it is. If you go a little bit down, there is one threshold for primary key length too long. And I may not want that. I do not want a primary key with really huge length because you know that's going to be a performance problem for me. So, okay, so this looks good. Now I go back to normalization diagnostics, incorrect functional dependencies. Well, I want you to show it. What does that mean? That means I may have a foreign key, and my foreign key may be null, and some sort problems. And then your typical first, second, and third normal form problems. Your relationship diagnostics. So what have I done here? I've actually gone in and told this tool my business rules that I wanted to follow. In the index and constraint, I didn't say something here, but table with no clustered index. So if you're working with your databases like SQL servers where every table must have a clustered index or table can have only one clustered index rule, you can actually have that rule set up in here. Now I can save and update the profile, and I can actually go ahead and save this so that next time I'm working with it, if the profile could be, maybe I can do it as corporate standards or something so that way next time I'm using it, I could basically pull that information in and it will help me work with my model. All right, so according to what diagnostics that I asked it to do, now it'll go in and run the diagnostics for me. You also have an ability to run those through all the way at the top where it says reports diagnostics. So when I go through the diagnostics and I run for column diagnostics, so whatever I covered here before, I'm doing the same thing. Now I'm doing it from top of the screen here. Now what I typically like to do over here is just go in and say quickly all. I can't tell you how much time this will save for you. I mean, I went through step by step by step, but what you could have done was just come in here, file, open, go to report, diagnostics, all, and it spits out all of that information for you. Now I have diagnostic report on my right-hand side, and I could go through, traverse through it to see information in there. I could also go through over here. So let's go to this order table, and let's see what it's telling me. So order table has all of these columns, and like I said to you before, I could go through any one of these I's and find out what's going on. It's going to give me the information about order date. It says data type is date. It allows nulls, no, and the comments is basically order date. All right, so I can click OK on here. I could also go and check my unique constraints, and I could go in and check my index in there for the order table. So as I go in and check through these, I can see the indexes, the information that's in there. All right. I could also go to my order item. When I click on it, now it's telling me there are inconsistent definitions. And inconsistent definition, and we saw that a little bit before, right? So I have customer number in 2 different places. If I have incorrect functional dependency, now when I go in, I say, show me, what are you talking about? It says a column occurs in more than one table, and the tables are not related. It's therefore impossible to detect which is the original column and which is the copy. All right, if I go to teach me, it will open up the information. Now it's going to go in and explain it to me. It says, for example, create table, there's state table, and there's a customer table. And believe me, it goes through a lot of information in there to explain it to me what is right and what's wrong through relationships and relational database creation. I could also go in and right mouse click and say scroll to table because I want to now look at the table. All right, so I don't want to just go ahead and see what it's showing me, but I basically want to go in and look at the information that it's giving me. When you go through your diagnostics and when you're looking at the information there, it's the same information that you could also go in and look in the table level. If I go through my unnecessary indexes, now it says to me that on order table, I have an extra index that I really don't need. NDX-CST1, it's unnecessary. So if I go click on I, it says index is fully contained in index whatever. This causes unnecessary I/O, which affects global throughput. So suggestion is drop index. All right. Now, just because it says drop index, you don't have to run and drop that index. You can actually, of course, show me what it's doing. So show me will show you that. And if I go to correction, so let me say show me. So when I say show me, it pulls up the table, order table. All right. So now I'm looking at the table. I have a primary key on order table. Then I have NDX, or I have an index on CST1 customer number, and I also have another one on customer number. All right. Now, of course, if I have two different index on the same column, that's not going to work. So correction is drop index CST1. Now, what can I do with this information? It's actually giving me a script. Of course, for a demo, I have a really small information that I'm taking it as a script. When you go run your own models through it, you'll realize that depending on the information that you have, it will go in and give you the syntax or the script. You can basically, what you can do at this point is Control-C this, and you can go to your start and open up your notepad and copy-paste it over there. So basically now, you have the ability to give the script to, whoever's doing your alpha script, or you can go ahead and also do that in your data model. All right, so choices are yours, how you want to use it. I'm not going to actually take it to the level, but that's what it'll do. Now let's go back to the report that we just created, all right, the diagnostic report that we were looking at, and let me go in and make it 100%, so just to show you what we have in there. All right, so the diagnostic, and there's a legend at the top. It says it's going to look at the table. These are the data types, primary key, foreign key, index. Unique constraint, it looks at table and column. It looks at triggers, selected PK, implied foreign key, relationship, and check constraint. Now, at the column level, it also tells you a column name occurs in different tables. So basically, it's teaching you. It says, look, here's a column. You have made this mistake twice. All right, and mistakes happen. If you're not using ERwin's domains, and a lot of you may know about domains, and if you don't, I suggest you send me an email, and I'll take you through domains when we have some time together. But domains make you standardize your data models so that you have less mistakes like this, because these could be very costly, having the data type, and this happens, by the way, but not in the same model. If you have different applications, I mean, that's why when you do data warehousing in Data Mart, the bulk of the time is spent on transforming your data types, right? Why? Because you thought you were collecting, all of your data was string data, but it happens to be numeric, and you didn't know about it. Now, if you use the data profiling tool, it'll very quickly tell you that you think it's string, but it's numeric, so you can make that change before you spend. It's basically you're looking at your ROIs of buying these tools. What is it this tool is giving me? Now I have something at my fingertips. Those of you who actually upgraded to ERwin Modeling Suite got this tool, and it's cheaper to go to the ERwin Modeling Suite and buy it as opposed to buying ERwin and Model Manager a la carte. And I'm sure you've looked at this tool now, and it's telling and see how good it is. If you go down, it's given me all of the problems that I have, and yes, there are 3 different pages. I can go from 1 to 2 and see other things that it's telling me. And my third one, a diagnostic summary report. Now, this summary report basically tells me what kind of errors that I have. It says I do have 3 errors at the column level that are severe errors, all right? and it tells me that there are 3 errors which are okay, I can live with it. All right, as you can see here, undefined alternate key. So it's telling me that I have a table, and let's see what it's showing us. It says table has a primary key that could be a non-natural key, such as a sequence number. And most of us do that. And I'm sure there's a corporate rule that says, look, if you guys are using sequence key, then you have to make sure that you have a natural key in the table that you have told us to index, so that for whatever reason the sequence key fails us, we have a natural key to go after, right? So now what it's asking you is to go in and say that you have an alternate key that you don't want to really work with, because that's not going to work, right? So here's an error, but maybe error that you can live with. Again, when I go to teach me, it'll open up another example. It'll go through employee, and it'll tell me that that's what it is. For those of you who use relationship with a recursive relationship, and we all know when we use recursive relationship, and it happens to be here in my employee, I could have a recursive relationship that's bothersome. Why? Because don't we all know what does recursive relationship require? Recursive relationship requires that at least one column is going to be nullable, otherwise inserting data will not be possible. All right, so looks like there is a problem in our model, so let's scroll to the table and understand what's going on. So, all right, it brings me directly to my employee table. And it says I have 2 IDs. I have an employee ID, and I also have a relationship, Ryan, with employee again, but I'm using the key as manager ID. Thank God. I have a role named key. I'm using the same data type, but what's missing? It's not nullable, because at least one employee is not going to have manager, right? So now it's telling me that I need to go in and fix this, because this is not going to work. So again, the point here is that, as you saw, not only it's allowing to run these reports, but it's telling me exactly what's wrong with my columns. It's putting it in different buckets so that you know by severity. It says, stop, this is not going to work. They're inconsistent definitions. Or, this is an error. Look at this. At every single level, whether it's column, whether it's index, whether it's normalization errors, or whether it's relationship, it's going through and telling you that those are the problems that you have in your model. It'll also look at, remember one of the things that we selected was we said, tell me if there is a table that has more than 4 indexes. Or we could also do the same thing and say, okay, tell me if I have a relationship there with a table that has more than 5 relationships in there. Why? Because I know if I have more relationship, more index, then that table is going to be very slow for my update. So, again, as you saw, the Data Model Validator is a tool that will allow you to look through your data models or your DDL script or your database catalog. Again, the best way probably is to create the DDL or reverse engineer a model and then run it through your Data Model Validator. It goes through the diagnostic and validations by structural integrity and basically your relational rules. And then it'll help you pinpoint all of your design defects, whether they are at the column level, index level, normalization or relationship level. I'm going to stop right now. It's 2:45, and I'm going to open this up for questions after we finish our slides.
Okay, now we're going to open up the forum for any questions for Shubi. So if anybody has any questions, please via the chat panel or the Q&A panel, send them in right now. Okay, we have one from Jamie. Is this or can it be DBMS specific?
Yeah, it is DBMS specific in the sense that if I understand your question correctly, If you're working with Oracle, it is going to be looking at your model and tell you, what's wrong with that particular DBMS. And most of the, now I don't know whether you're trying to look for information as in, for the table spaces or file groups, so we don't look at those. The structural integrity is basically the relational integrity, and if that relational integrity is not correct, then regardless of which DBMS, it should suffice, unless, of course, you have a specific DBMS check that you would like Data Model Validator to do. Because otherwise it's going to tell you, that if there are more indexes, it doesn't matter which database it is. Yes, Oracle will be a lot faster than the others, but the problem is going to be the same regardless of the DBMS.
Okay, thank you, Shubi. Any other questions? Please feel free to log them in via the chat or the Q&A. Okay, while we're waiting on some questions, I'll just basically go over some information on how you can contact Programmers Paradise and Shubi in the future if you have any questions that do come up. For more information, for questions for Shubi, she can do a one-on-one briefing for you. Also, we can offer a free data model health check. You can contact CA ERwin@programmers.com. And for software services, product upgrades, training, and whatnot, please contact us at www.programmers.com/CA. And please also note that we do have 2 more webinars coming up, one in August for reporting for Crystal Reports, and then one on the 23rd of September for ERwin Sapphire. And actually, we just have one more quick question come in before we end the presentation. 7.3.5 is Validator normally enhanced with each upgrade patch update?
Yes, the Validator tries to keep up with ERwin, and if you have 7.3.5, you have to go in and download 7.3.5 Validator so that it can open your 7.3.5 model. So they do work hand in hand with the Validator, the Process Modeler, the Navigators, and ERwin. It's all family of tools, and you are required to upgrade, as ERwin upgrades. Yes.
Okay, again, looks like all the questions have been answered. And again, thank you very much, Shubi, for the webinar and all the information and the demo. For more questions that you may have for Shubi, please email at ca.erwin@programmers.com. And there is our phone number in the U.S. and in Canada for any more questions to get in contact with Shubi. Thank you again, and have a good day.